It's a great day in SimWorld, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to SimWorld today. I'm B-Ron. sorry, sorry. Look, it's
You
been been been,
sure
been been a
about
been, been a
that?
rough. Yeah, look, I don't know, man. It's been a rough, 24 hours been going on over here at SimWorld Studios. So, I'm still B-Ron though, and this is March with me joining me again this morning. How you doing, man? Good to have you back.
As far as I know, I'm good, and we're safe. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you mentioned yesterday. So apologies for not getting one out. We are safe and sound. So appreciate the patience.
Yeah, exactly. Safe and sound, and maybe somewhat still all up here mentally. I don't know, man. But look, let's jump into things, shall we? Starting with some SWBA. Uh, Jacques Vaughn, the head coach of the Nets, is moving on. The Nets have decided to part ways with him after the start to the season. They've gone 21 and 33 to start the season. With him in the first half, and now after the break, they're moving on to their assistant head coach taking over that spot. It's a good move for them, Mark, to do it now with the break, and with the youngsters coming in, taking over, coaching against the Raptors on Thursday, their first game with him at the helm. It's a good move to do it now, or should they have waited to do it later? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but externally, I don't know why they need to do this at all. Right? This is now going to be the third time that they've moved on a head coach that's either been put in a pretty difficult situation or was actually being relatively successful. Right? They fired Kenny Atkinson because Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, the franchise pillars that were going to hold this organization up for years to come, didn't want him there anymore. And he had built an incredible culture. That's if you believe what these stars say that they went there for the culture. I don't know how much I'm going to buy into that, but Kenny Atkinson was a part of that. And then they forced their way into bringing Steve Nash into the fold, and then they get Steve Nash in because Kevin Durant said he wanted to play for him, and then they wanted him promptly fired. Now, obviously, Jacques Vaughn isn't fired from a superstar trade demand, but this is just complete unrest within the organization. They have not had any stability, and we talk about this at the SimWorld prep level, but dysfunctional organizations move on from coaches and players and leaders far too quickly when they don't see immediate success. This is not a good Brooklyn Nets team. Yeah, Mikal Bridges is good. Yeah, Cam Johnson is good. But this is not an elite basketball team. So, truthfully, the fact that they came out of the gates as hot as they did was as surprising as their recent struggles because this isn't really a great basketball team. So, to me, this just screams of we have no direction. We don't quite know who we are, so we can't quite gauge how good of a basketball team we actually are, and they might be overestimating their skill level, hence this quote unquote disappointing season with a group that really just I would not consider what they've done disappointing. I would consider this one par for the course.
Yeah, for all that being said, all the disappointing season, that kind of thing. Right now they're in 11th place in the East, and they're what 2.5 games behind the Hawks for the 10th spot in that and the play-in tournament. So like, yeah, that's not in the upper echelons of the East, obviously, but you're still somewhat close to trying to get into the playoffs. And for a team that's structured the way it is right now, with the guys you mentioned, I think it's surprising for them to even be in the position they are in as is. So them firing Jacques Vaughn, in my opinion, also doesn't make much sense because of that situation you have going. Because now you have to come in and bring in a new guy with a new message. Yeah, he's the assistant, but he's still gonna now that he's the head guy, he's gonna have his own, you know, message and things he wants to bring to the team while he's there in that spot.
Yeah, and look, let's listen to what the Nets have told us over the last 12 months. Let's just go that short of a time span. Within the last 12 months, they were a relatively competitive basketball team, but again, no one had any aspirations or disbeliefs that this team was going to be a title contender. They extended Jacques Vaughn less than a year ago. So if we want to literally listen to what they're telling us, within the past 12 months, they thought the future of this organization was with Jacques Vaughn leading this basketball team. So again, internally, what has changed in there? I don't know. Are we going to get stories about a lack of confidence and a belief that he didn't have the capabilities to carry this program forward. I don't know that that's coming partially because the Nets aren't good enough, right? Those stories are typically reserved for the good basketball teams that fall short. The Adrian Griffin firings in Milwaukee, the Doc
Mhm.
Rivers firings in Philadelphia. We don't really get that from teams so far below 500, but I think that underscores this broken Jack Sparrow type compass that the Brooklyn Nets are operating behind. They don't know where they're going. So they can't figure out, are we needing a coach that's developing talent or is helping us take the next step? And again, the roster isn't good enough to make the next step, but at the same time, this is not a team that can afford to lose games because all of their picks are owned by the Houston Rockets by way of the James Harden deal. So they
Mhm.
don't really have an opportunity to say, okay, you know what, screw this, let's bottom out, let's keep this piece together, but let's try to go out and get a top pick, even though this year's draft is not exceptional. They don't have that option on the table for them, but it continues to scream just we don't know where we're going. You mentioned they're hiring the head coach. It's Kevin Ollie, who coached at UConn. Who it's a very odd trajectory for Kevin Ollie moving up to head coach of the NBA because if my memory serves me right, and I could be completely wrong on this, I believe he was fired from UConn after winning a national championship, not immediately after, but in the years following. So it makes sense if you said, hey, Kevin Ollie, a really great college head coach, makes his way to the NBA to be a head coach. In this case, it's like this you get fired and then you get promoted only because the guy in front of you got fired. It's just an odd pathway from for Kevin Ollie to make the front seat of an NBA coaching staff. That's it. That's the only take. It's just fascinating.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. And the quote from GM Sean Marks, it's an incredibly difficult decision. But we feel is in the best interest of the team going forward. So there's of course no real, reasoning behind it. You would expect. But they did praise his positivity and passion, that kind of stuff, as is usual in times like this. So it's one of those things where like we don't really know more about what's happening with it, but hopefully we can learn more, as time goes on, obviously. But switching gears here, SWBL. Blake Snell, still a free agent. The National League Cy Young winner last season, free agent and potentially coming over to the American League to pitch for the Yankees. There are other teams interested in him as well. The Angels, one of them. They hadn't ruled him out, according to a February 9th report, and the Blue Jays back in January 14th were quietly monitoring the situation. Um, but it's looking to be the Yankees being the front runners right now on him though. Any thoughts on that, Marsh? Is this a surprise to you? Do you think he'll end up in New York as a Yankee?
Well, the Yankees are about the only team in the American East that is willing to and has the coffers to spend big, although Toronto has been really impressive in their pursuits this offseason. He's definitely got going to the Red Sox because they traded for a guy that's out this season, and they're more interested in their Netflix doc. But look, I think this is one of many Scott Boras clients that is asking for a lot of money, as is the financial free agent approach of Scott Boras. He's always been a man, and with his players, that he asks for huge sums of money. And then it's considered a win in the media market when you say Bryce Harper's worth 750 million and he signs for 300 because wow, you got him for so much less. So that to me, it's just surprising how many of these guys are still out there. But a player of Blake Snell's capabilities will most certainly be on a roster by opening day. I think it's a little telling from San Diego. They really backed up the Brinks truck in the last couple of years, and now they're kind of scoffing at that notion of continuing it after a really shocking and disappointing season last year. I mean that was one of what I think one of the highest payrolls in the SW BL and a team that's just got name after name that's as household as you're going to get at the professional level. So I think it's a little surprising that they're not willing to at least say, look, we've already pot committed to this group. Might as well just keep going.
Yeah, because looking at their rotation right now, they've got the current American League Cy Young winner Garrett Cole, Nestor Cortez, Clark Schmidt, and they also added Marcus Stroman. as well. So this is a very strong pitching staff right now as is. So if you can bring in a guy like Blake Snell, that puts you on another level because you have two, returning Cy Young winners on in your rotation, which is wild to me. That's something you would see in a video game, like rotation.
Well, the amount of money the Yankees have to play around with is essentially operating in a video game, especially in at that level where there's um, no salary cap, right? So it's
Very
just
true.
whatever you got
Very
to
true.
spend, just go out and do it, and that's always going to be the conversation around does it need a salary cap? But you're right. I mean, if you compare two Cy Young Award winners in your starting rotation, that's great. But it continues to be the problem at this level that the elites remain the elites purely because of the dollar figures that are in their bank accounts, while smaller programs such as, let's use the Pittsburgh Pirates for example, have to watch some of their stars walk out the door because they simply can't afford them.
Yeah, yeah, and that's always been a problem, I think, in baseball, especially at the high level here. You have to have some kind of way to balance things out, and they haven't quite figured out how to do it yet. The rich will continue to get richer, but let's get into our final topic of the day, Marsh. We have heard and seen a lot of news about some more prep kids going on visits to various schools. We've recently, Co-Web went to Syracuse for a visit. Trey Hyman went to UCLA. And Kevon Jackson and A-Rod, they both went to visit Duke at several times, of course, but they both went to visit Duke over the course of the last month or so. Um, there's been a lot of talk about all these players going to visit these bigger schools and how not everybody can end up there, and which is true. So we figured we throw our hat into the ring and maybe give some advice to some of these kids going on visits as well.
Well, follow what you got to do as somebody who had to go through the recruiting process of my own with football. Make sure that you're choosing every single, or you're putting every single option on the table. I think my point has been expressed on multiple occasions that the number one program does not necessarily mean it's the number one program for you. So, I've always been a big proponent of what Ireland early did. Going to New Mexico, he had offers from big schools where he was going to have a substantially lower opportunity. And he goes to New Mexico and he's been the leading scorer for the Lobos. He's been phenomenal for them this season at SWU. So I think it's find a spot that allows you to grow as a basketball player and as a person. I think it was Skinny Washington on Take It As You Will, talking about find the spot that fits right. I could not agree more. Don't be, as he said, don't be attracted by the big brand name, the name on the front of the jersey. I'd echo that. Don't if you're a guard and let's say Kevon Jackson ends up at Duke, that's where I'm not gonna say you should probably go because that guy's gonna take up those guard minutes. He's gonna dominate, and you're gonna be stuck trying to find your spot. That's why we see so many guys in the transfer portal because they get stuck behind better talent.
Yeah, and I agree with you on both those points, but something for me that comes to mind is take your time. There's no rush to make a decision like this. Go on all your visits, have all your fun. Cause I think that those things are important. That you have those experiences. You can't take those away from you. Even if A Rod doesn't end up choosing Duke, that's to say you were able to go on that campus for that visit is something that I think you'll remember for a long time. So take that opportunity while you can. This is more importantly, take your time because you have plenty of it to make your decision. And you know, just really, I mean, you have time, so take your time, make your choice, and it'll work out in the end. Hopefully, if you end up in the right space or in the right spot for you. If it doesn't, that's on you as well. But hey, that's gonna end it for today. Thank you all for joining, listening. As always, we appreciate you very much. And remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the hit the bell. Make sure you know all of our videos and shows and streams and games. There's some tonight. Go live for you guys. And until next time, remember, SimWorld is the only place where you can see the game, be the game. We'll see you tomorrow.